Hello. Thank you for being here. But before my talk, I would like to thank all the staff for this conference and Tommy to have organized that event, which is a very great event. Sorry, so I'm French. My English is not best as yours, but it will be okay. Like I will speak as a 5-year-old child or Donald Trump, if you want. It's okay. So my talk today will deal, with targeted attacks, so APTs, stuff like that. What we have seen during the last year, during the last conference, and what we can expect for the next years. So I don't know if all of you know what's great, the great team. So it's a team dedicated to do a lot of investigation related mainly to targeted threats. We also have good research regarding reverse engineering, industrial control systems, stuff like that. And we also investigate on banking threats and some cybercrime stuff. And so we have different profiles. We have like reverser, we have men like me that then threat intel, etc. So this talk will not deal about like reverse engineering or stuff like that, but you will have some source code of malware. So I have one question for you, is that since the last event, do you remember everything of all of the events that occurred in the cyberspace, like WannaCry, stuff like that? Because to do a talk like that, it's quite ambitious and nearly impossible. If you see the headline in the news, so you had many and many different events from like Shamoon, Mirai, the Macron leaks, stuff like that. You have NotPetya, you have WannaCry, you have the Shadow Brokers leaks, you have also Vault 7, stuff like that. So it's quite difficult to have a talk on each event, and it's quite boring, I think. So I will present you stuff that still allows an attacker to enter in network, and I will try to answer to a few questions like where are the Chinese today, because you have a lot of you had a lot of reports on them, and today you don't have anything, and other stuff like that. So here is a nice view on an iceberg, like why speaking about security events when you don't see anything. For example, you have the publication at the top of the iceberg is publication in open source. So I also has marketing stuff. You have also great researchers that do a lot of things in that. You have private reports and researcher groups that share between them IOC and stuff like that. And you have at the bottom of the iceberg all IOC that are not shared by victims. Why they don't are shared? Maybe it's by shame because of their customers. Maybe they don't know that the simple malware on the workstation is a part of a bigger thing. And maybe they don't know how to share with like their governments or other actors in the same sector. So let's back to our business. Do you remember this name? It's all Chinese attackers group, not all, because you have many names by many vendors, but since like 2010, you had many publications on them. APT1, Black Vine, stuff like that. And today, since like the beginning of the year, I count like 5 blog posts on them and 1 report, public report, and a good report from the BIOS system guy. So where are they? why we don't see them. So there is a lot of speculation regarding that. We see a major decrease of Chinese attacks, and there is a major decrease of reports. So maybe it's the 13 5-year plan. I don't know if you are very familiar with China, but each 5 years they do like a plan in order to do strategic orientation. So you had this plan in 2016, and it just draw strategic orientation regarding like transport, renewable energy, military stuff, etc. You have also the PLA military reform, so it's the military, the Chinese military reform that focused, this reform focused and checked many units in the PLA. So maybe the units in like the APT1 report doesn't exist anymore. You have also, with some hypotheses, some agreements of non-aggression with different countries like Russia or USA after the OPM hack. And maybe analysts can, like me, have switched to more like sexy things, maybe Russia, US, stuff like that. Or maybe they are still attacking our network and we don't see them. Why we don't see them? Because we had a lot of public and private reports, and our mind today is focused on like APT targeted attacks is definitely linked with spear phishing. The problem is that most of the cases that I have been able to work on relies during the last years with like frontal compromise via like web shell. It's like it's 32 bytes, I think, and this type of web shell is very good because it's stealthy, is passive, so you have a lot of security editors that say, oh, we have seen a passive malware, very sophisticated, but that type of web shell, you can put it on any web server inside the entity, and it can, like some Chinese group, just put them and ensure their OPSEC, their operational security, with your own security, because what they do is they put it on some web server that they have SSL. So you don't see anything, and the implant is still here for many years. You have also some trends like compromise of suppliers. The report of BAE regarding ClueDuper was like that. So ClueDuper is one of the campaigns related to the Monopass guy. It's a very like old Chinese APT. And so you have different way to compromise a company, but passing through suppliers is very good because you can have directly VPN access, you can go with RDP, you can just access to like SharePoint or stuff like that, so it's quite easy, and many of them are not so secure. You have also, and it's a very old trick, but webmail phishing with phishing regarding webmail, and not only like Chinese actors do all those things. Like Sophasy Group do that a lot. It allows you like to pass through VPN, stuff like that, and try to grab some information. You have trapping legitimate installers that we have seen like quite recently with the Shadowpad malware, and many attackers group do that. Like in 2014, if I remember well, you have the Avex guy, Dragonfly guy that have done that. And so noisy spear phishing with like zip attachment, stuff like that, we don't see anymore like related to Chinese actor, but it still exists. It still exists by many attackers do that, and they do also a lot of other things. And of course, inside the network, attacker for people that don't know how a man or a team penetrate the network, they just rely on open source tools and like Microsoft has good tools for that, like PowerShell, RDP, etc. After that, you have many and many, today you have many and many cyber mercenary that are targeting also private entities. And what we have seen is that they are more and more difficult to track because like when you have like APT1 in front of you or any state-backed actor, they rely on very heavy procedure in their infrastructure, in their malware. They use every time the same code and it's quite easy to get to end them in a network. For cyber mercenaries, like it's like red teaming. They are 3-4 and they do the infrastructure, malware, and the operational compromise. They don't have any heavy procedure, so it's very difficult to track them. After that, they use today a lot of open source tools. Like you can go on Google and type like Python backdoor GitHub, and you will see all of the projects on like Python backdoor. And they also rely on partitioned infrastructure. So you can't take like one C2 and try to find the rest of the infrastructure. It's very difficult. But so you have cyber mercenary that can be related to some governments in order to defeat attribution. But some other cyber mercenary are just looking for your money. Today we have some trends like some actors just use botnet to deploy bile and thyroid malware on high-value targets. It have seen like during the last year with Dridex, which is a banking Trojan, that have dropped like Carbonac on some high-value targets. You have also targeted ransomware. So today ransomware are like, okay, we go and spread the word with ransomware. But I think that in few months or year, I think it will be months, we will see once ransomware that when they are on a workstation, they will decide, okay, are we linked to an Active Directory? There is possibilities just to pivot on the network and try to ask for a ransom according to what company we have compromised. Also, you have North Korea actor that have compromised, like, I don't remember, it was with a watering hole against one of the Polish financial institution, and they try to compromise like banks, carders, so cyber criminals, and many actors who deals with money. The fact is today there is no more sophistication gap between like cyber mercenary and most of the state-sponsored attack. And what's up so regarding nation states? So you have thousands and thousands of countries that have developed cyber capabilities. You just to know that you just have to like look at the hacking team's leaks and see the list of their customers. It's quite impressive, and their cyber arsenal is no longer dedicated to only cyber espionage, but they do some research regarding how to disturb a country. We had some examples just a few months before with NotPetya and WannaCry. But if you look during the time, you had also obviously Stuxnet and some attacks like against the Turkey DNS name servers with a DDoS attack when Turkey just shut down shut down a Russian plan. So we will not, I think, in the next years, we will not a rise of false flag operation, as we have seen like with TV5 words, and different link in order to direct and disturb like election, stuff like that. And of course, and you will see just after, more and more state attackers don't look to develop their own tool, but they will rely on open source tools and PowerShell stuff like that. So while requiring sophisticated codes and exploits where the doors are still open, let's see this code. It's it's a code. So I think that every sysadmin, pen tester in this room will recognize that. It's in PowerShell. It's a very little backdoor, 28 line of PowerShell, with just one aim, is to get a payload on a remote server, decrypt it and execute it. Like, I don't know how many times, and restart this backdoor. So with that, you can do everything. They have some obstacle failure in that, because if, I don't know if you know that, but this HTTP request will not have any user agents. So one advice is to drop any HTTP request that come out of your network in order to stop like PowerShell downloader or backdoor like that. So, and at the end of this little script, they restart just their backdoor. And why they do that is just in order to prevent some information leaking in memory. And this backdoor was used and dropped by some documents. So you have, I don't think that you see very well the document, but regarding NATO, Ukraine conflict and stuff like that. And today we are still like investigating on it, but there is some ties like in the infrastructure with the Sofasy guys. So maybe they're testing new stuff. Maybe it's not a test, but it's interesting to see some actors that try to innovate with new things. So I will take water because the beer it's. But the next question is: do we have reached the tangent in cyber espionage operation and toolkits? I will explain why. Is that when you see a Yara rule like that, I don't think that everybody is familiar with Yara rules, but it's a rule for like pattern matching against malware, and we use that in a lot of things. You can do a lot of things with that. Malware clustering, you can catch malware on networks, on memory dumps, stuff like that. And so you have a rule that was one part of the runtime of the equation malware in order to decrypt their payload. The fact is the equation group used this method and quite the same keys in every equation malware. So it was quite easy for any security researcher to grab, like in the noise of Virus Total or any malware repository, equation malware. And so a simple Yara rule like that can catch many equation malware, and we can discover many victims. So many years of intelligence operation, because like most of the security researchers are thinking about how well for Stuxnet it was like 10 guys during 6 months, but no, the equation malwares and stuff like that, they were employed during years and years and years in intelligence operation. And it was quite bad for the actor behind it, because we can just discover all of the victims of this operation. So here is, I think it's a famous map of the victim of equation malware. So you have years of intelligence operation that are just broke by simple errors. And we have seen during the previous year many and many leaks regarding like some toolkits, thanks to shadow brokers. Whoop. Yeah, it's okay. Thanks shadow broker, Vault 7, etc. And we think that the attacker will think different regarding that, using, like cyber criminal, just they will use like open source tool, stuff like that, even like for long time cyber espionage operation. Also, they will relying on fourth-party collections. I think that everyone or not is aware of that. Fourth-party collection, as mentioned by the Snowden documents, is just when you have malware on the workstation, you try with SIGINT to interact with it, or simply to get data that is exchanged between the malware and its CTU. And if you remember Dridex and Carbonac, you have exactly the same stuff in like Snowden docs. If I remember the name, it was Defiant Warrior, and it was not like today. It was in 2010. So we are late regarding that. And I think that most of the focus of actors that have very good SIGINT stuff and operation, they will focus on the 3 topics. How to use like open source malware beaconing in order to get inside network without being seen, and how to get exfiltrated data just by fourth-party collection. I think that it's all. So thanks for your attention. And to conclude, I have just one word, is that, okay, I work for an antivirus company, stuff like that. But remember one thing, is sharing is caring. And if you work like for private entities, governmental too, etc., don't be shy to exchange many of IOC. So you have different stuff, like for hostname, many people exchange like IOC, MD5 hash, SHA-1, stuff like that, but they don't share like the attacker's hostname. And for hunting inside the network, it's very cool because you just have to look on your event log and see if there is not a strange hostname. And you can also diff the hostname in the event log, RDP event log, for example, and the existence hostname on your network. And you will see, I think, pretty bad things. And after that, infrastructure, but with dates, etc. PowerShell, WME, accounts created on the Active Directory. It's a good source of things just to hunt bad guys very quickly inside the network. So thank you very much.